A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
An opportunity today to meet the 2024 Australian Mother of the Year. The announcement of this year's award was made last week, leading up to Mother's Day. This year's Mother of the Year is Professor Joanna Howe, a mother of 5 from Adelaide. Joanna Howe is a Professor of Law and Associate Dean in Research at the Adelaide Law School at the University of Adelaide. Joanna, a special welcome along to 2020.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Joanna, first of all, a special congratulations on the award, Australian Mother of the Year 2024. What does that mean to you?
Well, I actually feel a little bit embarrassed, I'll be honest with you. I don't feel worthy of that award at all. I think there's plenty more mums who do noble, sacrificial and courageous things every day. And I also just feel awkward because I'm not like a perfect mum at all. And, I was telling the children about it and, it was kind of interesting because they don't get polled, but they were very happy for me. My kids were really excited and happy and, very supportive. But I just also feel like it's a beautiful award and I feel grateful to be honoured as a mother, but particularly as an advocate for children in our society. But I also feel slightly awkward because I'm definitely not perfect mother or Mother of the Year material. I just think, now every time I yell at the kids, one of them says in a bit of a smart alecky way, "Oh, there goes the Mother of the Year," and it's really embarrassing. But I'm sure a lot of mums out there can relate.
Well, I think every mother and every parent will be able to relate a little bit to that if you get honoured in a special way and then all of a sudden you have some sort of ideal expectation. Hey, attitudes to mothers, attitudes to women, they're changing today. And I love talking about mothers and their children. You've got 5, but these attitudes around Australia have been changing and you've been outspoken. What is it that drives you to be outspoken for women?
So I think fundamentally women have been lied to by second wave feminists. I think something very bad happened in the 1960s and 70s where feminism got co-opted with abortion as being essential to women's empowerment. And at the same time, the very idea of motherhood was questioned and undermined when I actually think as our fundamental purpose as women, whether we are physical mothers or caring for children and others in our community, we as women have that capacity and that desire. And, I think that motherhood is actually the biggest joy, the most special privilege that a woman can have, and yet it's been so denigrated to the point where, killing children right up until birth is legal in Australia, but also so denigrated as an option for women. So I teach young women at the University of Adelaide, and I'm coming across a whole generation of women who have been lied to. They've been told that their career and being a boss babe is their fundamental purpose. And it's just not. I absolutely support women achieving their dreams, reaching their potential. I love my career, but it doesn't even come close to the joy of being a mother.
I know this is close to home, but how are your colleagues in a state-run university when you hold these sorts of pro-life positions and a whole lot of other positions that are anti-woke? How are your colleagues reacting to that, and how do students react to you?
Well, I have wonderful colleagues. I think they were taken by surprise close to 2 years ago when I made that first social media post and became very outspoken on the issue of abortion. Now I post daily to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube and Twitter with my handle at Dr. Joanna Howe. So I really am very outspoken every single day on this issue. But that's because deep down within me, I just feel this call to speak the truth about this in the public square. I feel like, my entire academic career has been about addressing vulnerability in all its forms, as particularly with regards to migrant workers. And in 2021, when South Australia legislated abortion up to birth, so literally making it legal to kill a child right up until birth for any reason, I felt like I couldn't not speak out. By that point, I'd been at Adelaide for about 12 years, so my colleagues knew me as a person, and I think most of them liked me as a person. I've had to have the conversations with them. So I had to talk to a lot of them individually about what I've done. But most of the time, I actually feel they're very open and supportive. Having said that, though, activists outside the school, outside the university, have definitely weaponised the complaints processes of the university against me. I've sort of lost count. I've definitely had 5 internal university investigations in just, 18 months speaking out on abortion, which is just insane. And these aren't coming from my students or my colleagues. They're from people outside of the university writing in. And I'm under investigation at the moment, but I can't speak about that anymore because I'm bound by a confidentiality clause. But it is hard. It's pressure. But I also think it's why people don't speak up. It's why we have abortion up to birth, because most Australians don't even know, because the people that should be speaking up to advocate for the human rights of children and to speak up for their mothers, they're not able to do it because they're so afraid of getting cancelled.
Well, special honour to you, because you've got a backbone of steel, and to be a advocate, a spokesperson for girls, for women and for mothers. I hope you take every opportunity over this coming year, your year as the Australian Mother of the Year. But staying on the pro-life issues and around abortion for a few moments, because the question, can it get worse? Because our abortion laws in Australia, I know you've described those as really as far as you can go, abortion up to birth. But can it get worse? You're quoted as saying that, yes, it could get worse. You could start taking the lives of children outside the womb. Is that something that is even on the horizon? Are people talking about that?
So let's be clear, we already do not give every child in Australia who's born a legal right to care. Some fall through the cracks. So if a child miraculously is born alive after an abortion, and in a place like Victoria, this happens once every 10 days, in some states, they don't actually have a legal right to care. So in Victoria, it is perfectly legal to put them in the medical slop room on a metal kidney dish and for no one to care for that child. And just recently, over the last few months, I've been working with MP Robbie Katter in the Queensland Parliament to introduce a bill that would give born alive protection to children born alive in Queensland. And we know that in 2020, little baby Xantha was born. This was a story I broke on my social media last year on Instagram. Little baby Xantha was born at the Royal Brisbane and Women's Hospital in 2020. Her parents had gone in for an abortion because she had Down syndrome, so they wanted to kill her. And she was born alive at 19 weeks. Little baby Xantha was dumped in an empty room by herself and lay there for 7 minutes until she died. It's completely barbaric and inhumane. It's completely unthinkable that this would happen in a civilised democracy like Australia, and yet it happens. And we have people like Peter Singer, who was awarded, an Order of Australia. He's a so-called ethicist at Princeton. He is arguing, and he's been arguing this for a while. He was one of the founders of the Victorian Greens, and he's been arguing that you should be able to kill a child right up until 1 year old because they're not conscious, and that pigs and chimpanzees have more rights, or should have more rights under the law, than a human baby up until 12 months old. And so if you've got people speaking like that in the academy and being awarded for that through, Orders of Australia medals, then you know that we are heading down a very, very dark path where the rights of children are completely being trampled on. We're not doing things in the best interests of the child anymore. It's not even on our radar.
You're going to have an elevated and louder voice than ever through this coming year. And I know listeners will be able to hear. You're not going to hold back when you've got the microphone in your hand. You're a highly qualified law professor. How do you feel when intelligent people can't define a woman? And, of course, that flows on, doesn't it, to mothers. What are your feelings?
Look, I just think that's a symbol of how far we have fallen as a society. The fact that, we can't define a woman. We deny the personhood of a baby in utero. And it shows how important language is. The other side has come after language so aggressively because they know that if they come after language, they're also then forcing us to think in a certain way, and then our laws reflect their language. And so, I'm very clear on what a woman is. We've been clear on what a woman is my entire lifetime, and the lifetime, in terms of human history, which goes far beyond my 41 years. And it's only now when there's an extreme left activist agenda, where they're not just going after woman, they're going after children, they're going after everything that is good and noble, and it's being twisted for this agenda. And, you know, it's one of the reasons why I'm speaking up, because I just feel so concerned about the direction for our children. And I do believe we can turn it around because we have the truth on our side. But the only way it will ever turn around is if you, your listeners and me use our voice, because otherwise the other side just gets away with it. They get stronger and stronger and stronger.
And Joanna, you're talking to listeners who will be largely Christian because Vision is the national Christian broadcaster. How much of your advocacy is driven by your own Christian faith?
So I try to separate what I do in the public square on these issues from my faith, because in Australia we have the separation of church and state. And I'm very conscious that the people I'm speaking to on social media may not have the same faith background as me. Fundamentally, I am a person of faith and it drives me. But the argument against abortion or the scientific definition of what a woman is, you don't need an appeal to faith to make those arguments. And so I don't do that in the public square. And I have found it really effective. So in the last 18 months, I've reached over 5 million Australians on social media. And that's incredibly exciting to think that I could be speaking directly to people without the filter of the mainstream media on the topic of abortion, for example. And so I guess I feel like if I was to pigeonhole this as a Christian issue, then I would be limiting the amount of people I could speak to. And I would encourage Christians to move outside of their immediate circles to really speak to people on the issue of abortion. Like, why is it okay to kill a human being? Why is it okay to kill that human being right up until birth? Why is it okay to kill a human being because they're disabled? Like, why have we said yes and accepted these incredible human rights atrocities?
Joanna, are you open to speaking engagements, if there are those listening, perhaps running conferences? Yes, you'd like to hear from people?
Absolutely. I try to balance it with the family commitment. So at the end of last year, my husband and children and I sat down and realised that, okay, Mum had been going interstate a little bit too much. And it wasn't just the pro-life speaking engagements. I'd taken on a job for the federal government where I was reviewing the migration program. And that meant I was going to Canberra once a week for a day a week for 6 months. And it was a lot. It was a lot on the family. And we had to regroup and say, well, okay, now when Mum gets a request from, government or, a church group or whoever it is, we're just going to discuss it as a family. So I love seeing people in person and talking about this stuff. And please do reach out to me. I have a website, drjoannahowe.com, so you can sign up to my emails there, but you can also reach out to me to ask questions and things.
I think you've won a few more friends today, an opportunity to connect with the 2024 Australian Mother of the Year. This year's Mother of the Year is Professor Joanna Howe, a mother of 5. She lives in Adelaide. Joanna is a Professor of Law and Associate Dean of Research at the Adelaide Law School at the University of Adelaide. Now, to connect with Joanna, that website she mentioned, DR for Dr. Joanna Howe.com. Dr. Joanna Howe, HOWE.com. Joanna, thanks so much. And once again, congratulations on this wonderful honour, 2024 Australian Mother of the Year. Thanks so much for talking to our listeners today on 2020.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.